I was watching this documentary on Netflix called Bad Vegan, and I remember seeing the documentary about Bernie Madoff, and it's basically about a guy who starts a Ponzi scheme or has a Ponzi scheme, and when you're involved in a Ponzi scheme, the and how it works is that people put money in. If you've ever seen the producers, that's kind of like a Ponzi scheme. The producers was a film that was put out by Mel Brooks. It was one of his first, I think it was his first film, and it had Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel in it, and it plays these two guys that get this great idea, this money making scheme where they would have a well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the idea is that they came up with a way to make a lot of money, and like a Ponzi scheme, people keep putting money in it, and then they promise people a great return. And the reality is that they're just taking the money that other people have given, and they're giving it to certain people that are getting out. Okay, but they can't give it to everybody because if everybody demanded their money because they were supposed to have some sort of interest return on it, then they would have to flee the country and disappear because they couldn't do that, because what was in the pot was the sum of everybody's money together, and um, there was no interest there. The whole idea was it was just taking from Jack to give to Jane type of taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Um, and so Bad Vegan is really just about that. But the difference here is that in with Bernie Madoff was a investor, supposedly an investor that had some way of getting a fantastic return on people's money, and so people put money into it, and he would give them this fantastical return, but not immediately, and eventually they would get a little bit of a little bit of money back, but it would not. What it would be is it would be a percentage of like everybody's money going in, and so the more people that put in, the more of percentage you get back, um, and so you could draw from that. But the thing was is that I was supposed that was what it was with Bernie Madoff. But with the Bad Vegan, with this girl, what was happening was that she was involved with a guy who was um, who was having her put a lot of her money into what he was doing, and supposedly, and he painted a picture for her of the future, and that according to her worldview, which was kind of like New Age, um, that there's some higher outer realm that she could start becoming a part, become immortal, and all this stuff. He used that to get her to give him money, and over time she started to get a feeling that it was all a hoax, and it was a guy who was basically like a womanizer, but he had figured out that he could use her for other things. And this is really an attribute of psychopathy, which is parasitic lifestyle. I've got a little bit of it myself. I mean, everybody does. You kind of have to live off of other people sometimes, and but this guy had engineered a way to live off of other people by fooling them by use take understanding their worldview and using it to his means. This guy was, and practically a lot of there are a lot of stories out there, um, and they put them into crime drama mystery things, and they're like soap operas. You've seen them a billion times before, and it's like it never changes, but it keeps you intrigued, and it's like it's like a good bit of the stuff that gets thrown on TV. And when once you've there's some people that get mesmerized by it, and I would get mesmerized by it because it would be the psychological aspect of how somebody gets caught up in that. And probably the draw to it is that people think that if they see enough of these crime drama or whatever, they won't fall for it themselves, and they'll be able to recognize it of their friends, and you know, and it that's you know, but the other day I was getting an email, and I had a message and from my brother, and my brother it said uh, somebody died, but I'm okay. And I was thinking, and I just wasn't I just wasn't thinking about the authenticity of the message. So um, I had he gave me a link that would be like a photo or something. So I clicked on the link, and it took me to a Facebook login thing. So I was thinking, oh, I have to log into Facebook because the app the iPad I'm on or whatever isn't logged into Facebook. So I log in, and then it shows me something that isn't a photo. So I figure I have to reload it again, and I do it again, and then I realize I just got fished. And so if I can fall for that, I could probably fall for the same sort of things that are happening to this lady with this guy. It's just a matter of, and it's even more a problem if you're dealing with somebody directly. It's going to be harder to discern if you're dealing with somebody who's schooled in fooling people, and than it is for a phishing scheme. Phishing schemes are they're kind of like fishing. I mean, you're putting out bait, and then you're hoping somebody will catch on to it, and then you have to reel them in. So you have to apply a certain amount of force, and eventually you get them in, and they caught you, and so that's probably the reason why they call it phishing. But they use PHISH to set it apart from FISCH. And the reason why they picked that word was, well, it was the name of a band, but they wanted to come up with um, a name or something to give this idea of how you lure people in, and it had nothing to do with the band. The band's name was just a way of identifying the sort of identifying the idea and the method of what that was. And so somebody would say, "You're being fished." That is, somebody's luring you in with a scheme. And there are people who spend a lot of their time that they're criminals, and they've come to the realization that I'm a criminal, and it's perfectly okay for me to be this way. The rules don't apply to me, which is like a sociopath, and I can do this to other people, um, it's it as long as I don't get caught, I'm perfectly okay. Is it? It's perfectly okay, and it's a psychology of people, and if you or like a sociopath is somebody who doesn't have the capacity to feel, to see the consequences of their choices. Or if you're a psychopath who doesn't have the capacity to identify with others and identify with others' fears, and to not feel emotion for other people, then it's fairly easy to manipulate other people to your ends. And so they're kind of like lions, and they're, or not lions, but I mean they're predators, and they're looking for their prey, and all they need to do is identify the attributes of the prey, and then able to somehow lure them in, and then they can, yeah, and it happens every day. And but the same thing happens with documentaries that are like that, is that they're trying to suck in the people that would be sucked into such stories to watch them. And so in a way they have to do that too. um, but I didn't want to get into a big deal with this. It's just and maybe nobody will really care about this all that much, but um, I'll sit there and watch one of those, and then I'll be like, this really wasn't worth all that much to watch. They're really, I've seen it a billion times before. Why is it any different this time? And it's a sort of amusing. It kind of makes you laugh. It's easy to sit on the outside and see it. For some people, it's hard to watch. For other people, it's amusing because it's like, well, you can't believe this idiot. And in it, whatever the case, it's some form of entertainment. And um, what is the psychology of somebody who enjoys watching other people fall into traps? And what is the takeaway? Why is it that you watch those things? Are you planning to not be are you thinking you won't fall into the trap? Are you looking at someone else as being stupid, as being funny, that they're less of a person than you are? Are you wanting to understand such things so that if you had somebody that this happened to, you would be, you would feel, you would understand, and you would be able to um, to side with them, and and comfort them through the struggle, and then give them some good advice. There are different ways that people will see the same thing, and they each get a form of entertainment from it, or a form of something that is inspiring, or, and that's what I do. But I'm also trying to understand the psychology, the meta psychology of why I would be sitting there watching that. And whenever I've seen it a bunch of times, another example was, there was one where this guy was promising a great trip to some island where they were going to have, it was called Fire, I think was the name of the movie. And it was something like that. It was like Fire or something. It was on Netflix. And the guy was basically um, um, continually hoaxing people into trying to give him money, and he was going to create some fantastical return. But the problem was is that he had no he didn't really understand the consequences of he didn't understand what the proper outcome that the chance of a successful outcome was so slim, and that he was risking people's money, but he wasn't feeling the risk of that. He was okay as long as he could keep fooling people, you know. And he had a lifestyle that was dependent upon fooling people, or uh, dependent upon a fantasy of being able to make money off of people putting lots of money into something. And this was a case where this guy was playing this great part, and he figured if he just had enough models, if he had enough of the ingredients of to make a great party, it would work, and the logistics and everything would work them. Actually, what happened was the logistics failed. Getting that many people out to an island, having the villas made, and the food there and all that stuff, it broke down, and it created the worst outcome. And then they all came after him, um, because he had advertised a lie. And so he he was um, pandering to people's worldview, pandering to people's belief that there must be that there must be something that they're missing out on, that they could put money into, and be a part of some great experience. And it happens a lot. And there are people who have a lot of money, and the thing is whenever you have a lot of money, um, there are people out there who are going to figure out how to take it from you. And so there are a lot of people that think about, oh wow, if I had $10 million, everything would be okay. Well, the thing is that when you have 10 million, when you gain a great amount of money, people come out of the woodwork to take it from you, because these sociopaths and psychopaths, they come out of the woodwork to get it from you. I had heard some sort of statistic that like 20% of the people in jail are psychopaths. And so um, you can imagine if you get $10 million, you're going to have people to pay, security people to pay, that will keep these people from getting to you. You know, you're going to have to, and so in order to have money, you have to spend money to keep the money. Okay, you've got to put the money in places where you don't have ease of access to it. And so, like a trust or something, you put that money in there, and then if it's somewhere where you don't have access to it, it is going to keep you protected from these people, because if they come in contact with you and you tell them, well, I can't get access to the money because it's in this, and it's out of my control, they'll leave you, because they realize now that there's no way they can get your money, or get that large sum of money. Um, they may try to, but if you reveal to them there's no way to get it, no matter what, then there's nothing they can do there. Um, so that they'll go and they'll look for other low hanging fruit, rich people, people who have, or people who have just gotten lots of money. So if you won the lottery and you got all this money from the lottery, people who come out of the woodwork to get it from you. And so the best thing to do if you ever won the lottery is to figure out some way just to stick it somewhere where you don't have access to it. That it's and preferably not a Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme type thing, but put it in a bank, put it somewhere where you can gain interest on it and then live off the interest. Put it in 401k, put it, just put it somewhere where you don't have direct access to it, or distribute it, put it in charity, distribute it, take 10% of it, and then put the 90% somewhere else. But the thing is that if you don't do it, then these guys are going to come out of the woodwork to get you, and so you will not be able to protect yourself from these people because some of them will kill you to get your money. They'll whatever they can do, just as long as they don't get caught. They're okay. It's okay with them to do it, and it doesn't matter what happens to you. And so that's the reason why attaining a lot of money really quickly is dangerous. And the other thing is that of people who get large amounts of money, if you go and you spend it like crazy, it's going to draw attention from these kinds of characters. These are also the kinds of guys that rise to power really quickly, kind of like Putin. They figure out how to manipulate other people, and they climb the corporate ladder, but they do it stepping over people, using other people's heads as steps to get above everybody else. And if somebody's too big in the way, they just throw them off the ladder, and then it doesn't matter if they fall to their death. It's just an obstacle that the people are just obstacles to their getting higher up the ladder. And so if you climb a ladder to in an organization, you're going to come in contact with these people because they're already there. They're already doing this. And so the people think that if you get enough money or if you're high enough on the ladder that you'll have a perfect life. The reality is that it's you're going to be surrounded by people that are going to take advantage of you, and even more so, it increases as you go up, and it also happens at the bottom. It pretty much happens everywhere, but the thing is what you fear. What's the worst case scenario, for your life? What would really be a real bummer, And for me, a real bummer would probably be I lose my eyesight. I don't know if I don't even, I think that if I've lost my eyesight, I lost my hearing, I lost my touch, would I still be able to keep myself satisfied? What would satisfaction, what is the minimal amount of being that would permit me to be satisfied? You see, there are some people that will commit suicide if all the crap hit the fan. There are some people that doesn't affect, and that you start to realize that you have lots of stuff. When you're thankful, and you're thankful for who you are, and that you have they're rich people that have diseases, and no amount of money they can spend will ever prevent them from having that disease. And every day, even though they have all the money in the world, they can't really satisfy the feeling of not having that disease. And so the thing is what is satisfaction? And if you're not satisfied with your life, there's going to be somebody that's going to figure out a way to find satisfaction for you. And there are people that will do that are good who help you find it. Then there are people who are bad who can also give you the fantasy of being satisfied, and you'll throw all of your money into it, and you'll throw all of your friends' money into it because you think it's going to work for everybody, and then you realize that you've been scammed. And now you've lost a lot of stuff. Are you satisfied? You're satisfied. So it comes down to what satisfaction is and what thankfulness is. And it's going to teach you a lesson. And the lesson is what to be thankful for. And it may have required going through something that was that terrible in order to realize what you had. So you don't really know what you had until you've lost it. See? And everybody goes through it. But it's best if you take it from someone like me and then realize that there are good things to do and then there are bad things to do. And that's one of the bad things. It's going to turn around, and there's nobody to blame but yourself whenever you get caught up in stuff like that. But maybe it's a result of making bad decisions that makes such documentaries more attractive and interesting to watch. It's a catharsis. It's like this happened. It's like listening to the blues. It's like you listen to somebody else's blues, and then you can identify and sympathize, and because you can remember that that happened to you as well, or that you've had this experience. And so it so you feel a little bit closer to the person that's telling the story. Um, Anyhow, that's I was just gonna put that message out, and I'll sing some more. The reason why I sing is to be happy, to be satisfied. I don't sing because I'm happy. Um, I told that people all along. They say, "Oh, aren't you happy in singing?" They think I was happy before I started singing. No, I sing to be happy. It's a method for me to escape my situation. I sing so that I can escape the what it is right now, basically being a bum. And so I'm a bum. I'm a parasitic bum. I'm taking money from a trust, and I can't work. I can't be gainfully employed, and I can't get married as as a requirement for the trust. And so it could be a crime, but in my mind, it's not really a crime because the ones I'm getting the money from, it probably is a large sum of money, and only a small percentage of it is really coming out of that pot. And the rest of that money in about 100 years will probably get taken and thrown into get thrown into other investments or something. And the corporation that set that money aside, it's kind of like it becomes a part of their whole amount of money. And so it's not like it's taken from anybody else. It's that it's a chance case where, you know, money would be available. This happens a lot. You'll have a large amount of money set aside for a potential case, and the people who satisfy that case can take from that amount of money, um, can prosper from that kind of money, um, from that money, and so they're risking that that there are going to be a whole bunch of these people that can be able to um, satisfy the requirements to get that money, and but the likelihood of that happening is very small. So lots of people can take from, some people who can satisfy it, and I satisfied it, can get that money. There's no real crime in it, because it's always going to be there, and for about 100 years, and all the people that could have satisfied it have died. They're going to take that money and it'll go to their grand sum of what they come. So you're not really taking from somebody, you're taking from a future. So you can understand what it's like. And so there's a part of me that's saying, well, it's kind of dishonest. Um, but then I think to myself, I've never been able to get a job. And I've kind of avoided that. It isn't that I avoided getting a job, it's that I've wanted the right job to come along, and it hasn't ever come along. I've prepared to be a certain kind of person, and it's really funny. I've had the chance for success in my life, but every time I had the potential to have success, I've run away from it because um, I don't believe I can like really. I feel like if I became successful, it would be really bad. It's just a strange psychology, and so this is probably the only way that I'll ever be able to support myself. And other people would probably say, "Well, I can go out and get a job doing this, and I make lots of money." And I said, "Fine for you, but I'm a different kind of person." And this is kind of my last thread of support. But then I'm like, what's the worst that could ever happen to me? I lose all my money. I don't have anything left. I end up homeless on the street. What is that like? And so I'll watch homeless documentaries. And that's what attracts me to documentaries is it's kind of like maybe education to help me prepare for a future where the worst might happen. That the worst is inevitable. And other people probably live their lives thinking that the best is possible. That at the very end, the best is possible. But everybody's going to die, and when you die, you're going to face the worst possible experience. It's either going to go nicely or it's going to go really badly. And so I think everybody can identify with the idea of what death is going to be like for them, or what's the final thing. And so